Hey guys, I'm back. So, this is my first message in the new year, and it technically should have been last Sunday, but I had a horrible cough. And ironically, while I was sick for that time, I was like, I'm going to preach on healing. Now, I have a lot to say about healing. I could preach hundreds of different messages about healing, but what I kind of want to think about as we're entering into a brand new year, brand new season, a brand new set time in history is kind of what does God want to do in your life? What does God want to make new? What does He want to change or transform in your life? So I thought it appropriate that I teach on John 5, which is the healing in Bethsaida, which is where basically there was a big pool and all of the sick, lame, injured people all laid around on these five porches and basically just waited to be healed, to get in this pool that was stirred up by an angel and be healed. So they're just sitting there, basically waiting, just waiting, which I think we forget to credit the fact that healing has a pre process. Like there is a lot of steps that come before healing. It's not that you have to do anything, you have to be worthy enough, but it's you have to go through a lot of things in life to get you to a point where you're like, I need to be healed from this. Healing is kind of like being, I don't like the word enlightened, but kind of like enlightened, like understanding that no, I need this. I need to be healed. Because Jesus doesn't, I mean, yes, Jesus does just heal. He wants to heal all of us. But I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a process to get to the healing. There kind of is as a person. I mean, yes, there are moments where God just takes things from you. And I'm not discrediting that by any means because that has happened to me in my life. But in certain situations of dealing with trauma, emotional and mental struggles, but also even physical, like getting to a point of what can I do to make myself better? Oh, if I take this cough medicine, I will feel better. But getting to that point of understanding that, well, you guys will see what I mean. So I'm in chapter 5 of John, and I'm going to pause and jump around as I always do, but we're just going to start reading. So this is one of Jesus' stories on his way from Galilee. From Galilee, Jesus returned to Jerusalem to observe one of the Jewish feasts, which it was actually Passover, Tabernacles, all that kind of stuff. That was one of the, this one was actually taught as the Feast of Pentecost that he was returning for, which, fun fact, Pentecost is actually the coming of the Holy Spirit. That's pretty cool. Inside the city, near the sheep gate, I thoroughly appreciate that the sheep gate, like we are God's sheep. Like, I love this footnote in this Bible. That's why I'm actually reading it out of here. Because it says, literally the place of the sheep. The word gate, not in the Greek text, it means the sick gathered at the pool like bruised and wounded sheep needing healing. That is where this entered. That's where you entered into this, is the sheep gate. So you had to go through basically like through this sheep gate, and then there's this pool on the other side where all these people are laying on these five porches. I think that's pretty rad, actually, that you have to enter through that to understand you're entering through all these bruised and sick people that need Jesus, need healing, need that to get to the place of healing. That's where Jesus goes. He goes through those things. Jesus isn't a person that is, going to tiptoe or hide around things like, yeah, I'm using my hands a lot, I know, guys, but I just want you to get that vision of you have to go through something to get to the healing. You do, because you have to go through something to get to Jesus. You have to go through it to get to it. My pastor actually talked about that today, just in a different context. So, there is a pool called Aramaic, the House of Loving Kindness, surrounded by five covered porches. So the pool on the other side of the gate is called Loving Kindness. Okay, that's also some names for Jesus. Side note. Hundreds of sick people, nothing but hundreds. So Jesus has already healed, as we've read in, well, not really healed, but I guess fed the 5,000 and the 4,000 and all of that stuff. So he's already fed people in previous gospels that we've read. So think about these are just hundreds of people laying around. Lying underneath the covered porches, the paralyzed, the blind, and the crippled, all of them waiting for their healing. That concept of waiting, what have you waited for? Yep, we're going to go there. What are you waiting for in your life? What has brought you to 2023 that you are waiting for? I come from a long line of some Christian believers that have waited for things. I myself am actually waiting for certain healing and certain things in my life to come to pass. I mean, I have a grandmother that prayed for things for 30 to 40 years and she didn't see them come to pass. She was waiting. She was earnestly waiting for the healing of those relationships. So, what are you waiting for? For the angel of God periodically, wow, words are hard, periodically descended into the pool to stir the waters. I love that. What does God do? He stirs the water. Usually this motion is meant for stirring the pot in a gossip situation. Yeah, we're going to get real. But Jesus is stirring. He sends his angels to stir the waters, mix it up, change it, transform it. You know, in Romans 12, it talks about, well, 12:2, talks about be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Okay, this is being, the water is being stirred, transformed into healing. Think about that. That flash you just saw over there, that was Moose. He is running around this house like I can't even tell you how fast. So if you hear him, sorry. The first one, so the first person that stepped into the pool when the waters were being swirled around would be instantly healed. So think about that. The first person, I think that's why so many people congregated here. Let me see, where's the other part I want to talk about? So when it's being swirled, they're instantly healed. Among the many sick people that were lying there, there was a man who had been laying there for 38 years. Okay, I haven't even been alive 38 years. That's about 10 years from now. But he laid there waiting for his healing. Just laying there, watching all of these other people getting healed, and this man is still just laying here. Now, mind you, there is a persistence and an urgency in that because he is still there. He could have figured out or had somebody carry him away or just honestly given up. Just given up and said, you know what? No, not doing this anymore. But he is still lying there. And mind you, many things have passed him by, people, all of that stuff. When Jesus saw him lying there, he knew the man had been crippled for a long time. See, Jesus knows. You know, there are so many moments where Jesus knows. And I think we skip over that sometimes and realize that no, Jesus really does know what's going on. He's very aware. I mean, he's God. And Jesus asked him, do you truly long to be well? That's a very emotional question. Do you truly long to be well? We live in a society that a lot of people use their trauma and their pain and their physical abnormalities as a crutch, as an excuse, as something to propel them forward because they don't want to do something. It's a manipulative tactic. Yep, I'm just going to get on the soapbox and say it. We live in a society that coddles like that and says, you know what, I can't do that because I have this disorder, or that's a trigger for me, or come on, can I get an amen on that? We do. And then it becomes a politically correct thing. It does. Now, I am not discrediting any kind of mental health struggles or physical struggles. I have both of those things myself in certain capacities. But I'm going to tell you that Jesus Christ died on a cross for us to be healed and be raised to a new life. You have a choice to be a victim. You are not a slave to fear. You are not a slave to those things that hold you down or that the enemy uses to attack you. You are a child of God if you choose to follow Jesus Christ. You are. You have a choice. And this man's going to get his choice here in a second. Do you truly long to be well? It's kind of like a father. You know, when I was sick as a kid, I kind of liked to be sick sometimes because then I got to stay home from school and I didn't have to go. And I didn't like to go to school. I was not one of those kids that enjoyed school. And so I would like try and be sick longer. Or like I just wanted to be sick so I could stay home. And my dad one time, when I was really little, was like, "Are you going to take your cough medicine?" And I was like, "I guess." And he goes, "No, like, do you still want to cough? Like, I can tell that hurts. So do you actually want to get better? Because I'll give you the cough medicine. It's right here. It doesn't taste good, but it's right here." Healing, the point to get to the healing is not always fun. It's a process. It's hard. Cough medicine's gross. I didn't want to drink it. What happened when I drank it? I didn't cough for a little while. Obviously, it took time for me to heal, but you get what I'm saying is it started to subside. So Jesus is asking this guy, like a loving father, do you truly want to get better? The sick man, I like this. Here's the footnote. Here, I'll read you the footnote on that line. Are you convinced that you're already made whole? Interesting question. Um, it's actually not future tense. It's do you want to be healed? That's present tense. It indicates that something had already been accomplished. Jesus already knew that he was going to accomplish this in this man. He was asking the crippled man if he was ready to abandon the things that he was holding on to about his illness. If he's ready to abandon those past things that he's holding on to that are stopping him from propelling forward and receive faith for his healing. Everything's about faith, guys. Everything is about faith. The whole walk of Jesus is about faith. We live by faith, not by sight. And the sick man answered, "Sir." I like how he addressed him as sir. It's very interesting. He doesn't recognize that Jesus is Lord yet. He just says sir, which is a very, it's little L Lord, not big L. There's a difference in the Bible. There's a big L Lord, which is for God, and there's little L Lord. Same with little g God and big G God, because God is big. Yeah, I know that was a big concept. There's no way I can get healed, for I have no one to lower me into the water when the angel comes. As soon as I try to crawl to the edge of the pool, someone else jumps in ahead of me. Okay, there is some truth to this, but there is also an excuse. In my other Bible, I have it written as a decision, excuse, and then the actual action. Because this is the excuse to not get better. You come up with this because you're so used to holding on to those past things or all of those things that that's your crutch. It's true. We do this all the time in society. I've done it myself in my life. You don't necessarily want to get better because there's a tension in that. There's self-gratification in that. There is being hidden behind your sickness. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think people, if you're tracking with me, you know where I'm going with this. And so this is the guy's excuse that he can't get into the pool. Jesus said to him, "Stand up," and it's got a big exclamation point. "Stand up, pick up your sleeping mat, and you will walk." That is an affirmation. You will walk. Immediately he stood up and he was healed. That's how quick Jesus wants to take those things that you're holding on to, your physical things, immediately. Now, I'm not saying God isn't real just because you're not healed yet. Or maybe you've sat and prayed for something for a long time and it hasn't come to pass yet. I am not saying that. But we serve a persistent God. Stand at the door and knock, and the door will be opened for you. Continue that process. Ask, and it will be given unto you. God is an on-time God. We serve an on-time God. It may not be our time. It may not be our time. It doesn't say we serve our time God. It's on time. not our time, on time. His time is not our time. He's outside of it. We put God in a box. We do that in society. And there's a whole other message I want to preach about that with Moses, about we do not put God in a box. Don't do that. That's a different message, though. Let's finish this. So it goes, immediately he was healed. So he rolled up the mat and walked again. He did it again. Now Jesus worked this miracle on the Sabbath. It's very key. The Pharisees don't like when Jesus does things on the Sabbath, but we serve an on-time God. This is putting God in a box. This is a little snippet of that. When the Jewish leaders saw the man walking along carrying his sleeping mat, they objected. In some versions, they say they were exasperated and said, "What are you doing carrying that? Don't you know it's the Sabbath?" All right, bro. Slow your roll. Hang on. It is unlawful to carry such things on the Sabbath day. Isn't that just like some, huckster over there just freaking out? It's true. He answered them, "The man who healed me told me to pick it up and walk." See, this man recognizes the correct authority. That's very key. I don't think we catch that when we read this story. This man recognized his authority, who's in authority. "What man?" they asked him, which was the Pharisees. "Who is this man who ordered you to carry something on the Sabbath?" But the healed man couldn't give them an answer. He didn't yet know who it was. I think that's really interesting. He understood the authority, but he didn't know who he was yet. That's really interesting. We can see God a lot in our lives and still not know who he is. The churches are full of people like that, where they see God all around them, but they don't actually know who he is. That's a key thing. But the healed man could, oh, sorry, my bad. Since Jesus had already slipped away into the crowd. So he had already ducked out. Jesus does that sometimes. A short time later, Jesus found the same man that he healed at the temple and said to him, "Look at you now." I love that. Look at you now. That's what Jesus does. He look how far you've come. My grandmother used to say that to me a lot. Look how far you've come. Jesus is that father for you. He is that loving person that wants to say that to you. But you have to make a decision, and that's what this man had to do. He had to make the decision. You're healed. Look at you now. You're healed. Walk away from your sin. Bold moves, Jesus. So look at you now. You're healed. Look at what you decided to do. Now walk away from sin so that nothing worse will happen to you. When you're under the umbrella of God, you're protected. But if you choose to step out of that umbrella and continue, we're all sinners. We're all still going to sin. Believers sin too. But there's a difference if you choose to repent from something and make a different choice and actively follow Jesus, or if you're willfully sinning, disregarding the reverence of God. Those are separate things. Then the man went to the Jewish leaders to inform them it was Jesus who healed me. It's very important that that man directly went and told those Jewish leaders who healed him. From that day forward, the Jewish leaders began to persecute Jesus because of the things he did on the Sabbath. So think about it. That's what kickstarted the Jewish leaders to be mad, is him healing this man of his ailment. That's what made the Jewish leaders mad. We live in a society that when you progress forward, people get jealous. Don't be held back by your past. Don't be held back by the enemy using those things. Not everybody that you have in your boat is paddling for you. They might be drilling holes in the bottom. Be aware of who's around you, because like Jesus told this man, go and sin no more. When you choose to go sin no more, that makes your whole life look different. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. There's another verse I want to read you guys in Hebrews, but I gotta get to it. Give me 30 seconds and I'll get there. And it's a very, where is it? Well, we're gonna get the other Bible out because I can't find it right now. So let me have it. I have it marked in this one. I have a bunch of Bibles, side note. So take a new grip with your tired hands. This is chapter 12, verse 12 of Hebrews. Take a new grip with your tired hands and stand firm with your shaky legs. Mark out a straight path for your feet, and then those who follow you, though they are weak and lame, will not stumble and fall, but will become strong. What you do matters. Your example matters. What you say to people, what you do. This version itself actually words it as, so be made strong even in your weakness. Even if you aren't fully healed yet, be made strong in your weakness by lifting up your tired hands in prayer and worship. And strengthen your weak knees, for as you keep walking forward on God's paths, all your stumbling ways will be divinely healed. That's what I'm going to end with. I'm going to read that one more time a little slower. So be made strong even in your weakness by lifting up your tired hands in prayer and worship, and strengthen your weak knees, for as you keep walking forward on God's paths, all your stumbling ways will be divinely healed. That's what I want to leave you guys with. What do you want to do this year? What do you need to be relinquished and healed from this year? Because once you make the decision to follow Jesus Christ and accept Him into your heart, all your stumbling ways will be divinely healed. I promise you that. Even if it isn't necessarily in a tangible way, the healing is coming. But it's the decision to step forward towards that pool or towards that healing. Have a blessed week. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.